That's exactly what we're doing, and very pleased to welcome back into the studio Governor Tim Pawlenty, who is one of those candidates for President of the United States. Welcome back, Governor.
Good to be with you, Simon. Thanks for having us.
And immediately I'm going to turn my back on you because also joining us is the Governor's wife, Mary. Welcome, ma'am.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
We love to have you. You're far better looking than the Governor as well. So. And I don't care about saying stuff like that. So let me go to you first, ma'am. What's it been like as the wife of somebody running for the office of president? What's it been like for you?
Well, he hasn't actually been running that long, so but he and I have been married for almost 24 years, and it's been a delightful road. I could never have predicted back when we first met one another how this path would unfold, but it's been terrific. It's really a joy.
The beauty of America, right?
Absolutely,
exactly.
Absolutely.
You never know who's going to run for president. But since he started running, has your life changed?
In the sense that we have to be more thoughtful about our schedule, and I do have to be aware of how long he's gone. He's out in the trail, of course, about 6 days a week, and we have a couple of kids, and they're teenagers, and I got a dog and a house, and you just gotta watch the schedule a little bit. But other than that, he's been in politics for such a long time, and it's really something that he does well, and so it's fun. It's actually fun watching all of it unfold, and I think he's having a good time in Iowa.
Well, as a dad of two, I promise you they won't be teenagers forever.
I have that to look forward to.
You do indeed. You have that to look forward to. Governor, let me go straight to the debt ceiling. Is it time just to draw a line under this, even if that means we default, and to stop the insanity?
Well, look, we can't just treat the rising temperature. If you have a heightened temperature, we don't just give you an aspirin and not look at why you have a heightened temperature. So the debt ceiling is a symptom of an underlying problem. And the answer isn't to just take an aspirin or put a Band-Aid over it. You got to fix the underlying problem. So I've said all along, first, sequence the debt payments to avoid default. They didn't do that. Then I said cut, cap, and balance. They didn't do that. Now they're running out of time and their back's up against the wall. So I would say this. I will be very disappointed if they raise the debt ceiling and don't get real, permanent, meaningful, significant, and structural improvement and reform.
You see, because the big deal that the president was originally talking about isn't a big deal at all. I mean, he wants $4 trillion over 10 years. It's $400 billion a year. It probably won't even get done if we're honest about it. And so it's not a big deal at all. I'm just wondering if it's time to say, you know what? If somebody isn't going to be serious, let's talk about $10 trillion over 10 years. I'm sure that I could cut a trillion a year without too much trouble. Let's talk about $10 trillion over 10 years, and then somebody's being serious, and until somebody's willing to be serious, you know what? We're just not going to go for it.
Yeah, if not now, when?
Yeah.
If not now, when? And, as interesting and important as the debt ceiling issue is, right behind that are the other issues of how we got into this mess in the first place and the drowning, the suffocating of the American economy because our government is so out of control and so expansive and expensive that it's ruining the country. And if not now, when, Simon? So I would say stand your ground. Take this as a moment of a line in the sand. And look, I did this. All the candidates are going to say they're the ones who can do these kinds of things. I shut down government in Minnesota for the first time in 150 years.
Absolutely.
Set a record for vetoes and used executive power to take more money out of the budget than all the other governors in the history of the state combined. So I've been down this path, and you need to draw lines in the sand as the executive, as the leader, and I would do it in this moment. Okay,
but you said this morning at a breakfast meeting, you said, and I'm quoting you now, my plan is not ideal, but it's better than doing nothing. What exactly did you mean by that?
We're talking, in that case, we were talking about Social Security reform. And so one of the questioners had asked about that. And I said, look, unlike Barack Obama, I actually will look you in the eye and tell you the truth about what it's going to take to fix Social Security. And by the way, under current law, if you do nothing, not you, but anyone, if you advocate doing nothing, already in current law are automatic cuts in Social Security benefits for everybody. And they're significant. So I first of all made the point that anybody who says let's just do nothing, what they're really saying is accept current law, which includes cuts in all Social Security benefits. My plan in Social Security is this. Tell the young people, the people entering the workforce, that we're going to gradually raise the retirement age over time, but we're going to give them plenty of notice. Won't affect anybody on the program.
And guess what? We're on the same page on that one. I've said that on the air right here.
And for them as well, by the way, they get to have the option of staying in the traditional system or individual accounts. And then lastly, I said this. I don't like this one, but it's not ideal, but we're choosing between bad options. We're going to means test in the future the cost of living adjustment, not all the basic benefits, but the cost of living adjustment, so that if you're wealthy, you won't get the cost of living adjustment in the future, but if you're middle income or poor, you will. And at the end of that, I made a comment which was, look, these aren't ideal solutions, but they have to.
Simon Conway Show here on News Radio 1040 WHO. We're having a bit of a potential President's Day. We had Senator Santorum in, and now sat right next to me is Governor Tim Pawlenty and indeed his wife, Mary Pawlenty. So thank you both for being with us today. And actually, I was just talking about entertainment. Maybe I should go over you. Are you going to have any influence on the entertainment that the governor has at the straw poll? You got any favourites you want there?
That's a great question. You know, do we have a band lined up? I mean,
think we do.
What do we got?
I don't have that announced yet or the information, but you know, I'm sure it'll be, U2 or,
Paul McCartney.
Paul McCartney, just, some
absolutely.
Some small house band.
I'm teasing. No. I think it'll be a local band or country or Christian band. We don't know, but we'll get that information to you.
Great. Okay, well, we've got a whole bunch of questions, and I am going to get to them, so we need to kind of make the answers fairly short if we can. What do you need to do at the straw poll to convince you to stay in the race?
Well, our goal at the straw poll, Simon, is this. The last Des Moines Register poll had us in 6th or 7th place. So we've been in the back of the pack. We need to show meaningful progress. Well, I don't think we need to win it, but we need to show a very good showing and show progress, and I'm confident that we will. And this notion that we're going to drop out of the straw poll race, my goodness, that's ridiculous. We're going to do well in the straw poll, and you'll see us continue to make great progress towards the caucuses.
Okay, there's been a couple of national stories about that. I saw one in, I believe it was the Washington Post, that suggests that your progress has not been that great nationally. Is that concerning to you?
No, not yet, because we're focused on the early states of Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, and the early polls nationally, with all due respect to them, don't really mean that much. They almost never predict the winner. And if we show early progress here in Iowa and the early states of New Hampshire and South Carolina, you'll see the momentum nationally. Okay, I'm going to take some calls. When I bring you on the air, please keep your questions really, really short because time is very limited. Let's go to Terry, who's on the Simon Conway Show with the governor and indeed with Mrs. Pawlenty.
Is this, am I on?
Yes, you are.
Yes. Hi, Tim and Mary.
Hi.
How are you doing? Terry Jobes, and I'm the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod World Relief, and also worked with Mother Teresa over in Kosovo. And you were the governor of.
We can keep it short, Terry. I really want you to keep it short. What's the question?
When governor, well, I just want you to know that the governor and his wife are excellent Christians, as well as.
So it's a statement, not a question.
Well, I just want the people of Iowa need to know that the governor and Mary are excellent Protestant Christians, and Michelle Bachmann and Rick Santorum are excellent Roman Catholics, and you're looking at the next president, vice president, and attorney general of the United States.
Well, thank you very much for that, Terry. I appreciate it. Let's go to Dennis in Ottumwa. Please keep it short.
Yes, hey. Thank you guys for coming on the radio so we can ask direct questions. My direct question is, do you suppose that the president really understands where the tax base is generated? And if so, why is he handicapping the one source of income by tax raising and all the other stupid things he does?
Thank you for that.
Well, Simon, we had a 10th grader come to one of our town hall meetings recently.
10-year-old?
10-year-old, excuse me, 10-year-old. And he basically said this, Governor, if you keep the taxes low, people will have more money. And if they have more money, they will buy things. And if they buy things, they'll keep the businesses busier. And if the businesses are busier, they will hire more people. And if they hire more people, those people will have more money. And then they'll buy things and so on and so on. We shouldn't have to have a 10-year-old. We shouldn't have, yes, we did. And we shouldn't have to have a 10-year-old know more about and school the President of the United States about how the private economy works.
Audio or video?
Both.
You have just got to send that to the president. You have to. I mean, it's really, you need to send, and I'd like a copy of it too. Let me grab John very quickly, John.
What would you do to keep the military benefits that veterans have been promised and are losing all the time?
Okay.
Yeah, in Minnesota, we use priority-based budgeting, and we said, look, not all things that government does are of equal value. We're going to put the most important things at top. They're going to be maintained or improved in terms of funding. The stuff in the middle, not so much. And down below, it's going to get cut or eliminated. The number one thing on our list all the time was military, veterans, support programs for them and their families. I was viewed as, and this is validated by third-party sources, probably the most or one of the most veteran and military-friendly and supportive governors in the entire country.
Okay, let's go to Clint in Osceola. Make it quick, Clint.
Hello, Governor Pawlenty and Simon. I'm a member of Iowa Farms Coalition, very good friend of the founder.
Quick question, please.
What I want to know is, what would you do to overhaul the ATF as far as their failed programs in the past? They've turned around and tried to blame gun owners in America.
All right.
Yeah, well, I'm a strong supporter of the Second Amendment. Simon and I were together out at a rally recently, last Saturday.
Yep.
And I told you this, when President Obama was in San Francisco and he ridiculed small-town America by saying they get scared and they cling to their God and their guns, I stood and said, look, I love God, I love America, and I love the Second Amendment. So you can be assured I will support and defend the Second Amendment and gun owner rights. I'm the only governor in the country that signed concealed carry twice. And Simon, I know we got to go, but on all these things, one of the big differentiators between me and the other candidates is you can go down the list of these important issues, and I'm not just talking about it. I'm not just flapping my jaw. I'm not just shooting my mouth off. I've actually done all these things as an executive in a tough environment.
Absolutely. Now, I have no problem with you saying that whatsoever, but, we've now met each other 3 or 4 times. We've been on my show on the phone a number of times, and I genuinely like you as a person. I've told you that from the very start. I'd love to go and have a beer with you at some point. But I do have a problem with you breaking Ronald Reagan's 11th commandment. Not what you just said. I think that was absolutely fine. But I now know directly that people associated with your campaign have been calling kids who interned for Michelle Bachmann, asking them to go on the record with inside information. Will you condemn that?
Well, first of all, I don't. That's the first I've ever heard of that.
If it was
Simon, so I'd like to know more about it.
I will get that to you. But if you knew that was true, would you condemn that?
Of course.
Okay. Would you fire anyone who was directly employed by you who might have done this?
Yeah, again, I want to know more about it, but if somebody's doing something inappropriate, obviously they need to be held to account for it.
We're talking about calling people who interned for the Congresswoman Bachmann, asking them to go on the record with dirt is basically what we're talking about.
Yeah, well, first of all, I don't know if that's true, but if that happened, that wouldn't be something I would condone and tolerate.
But you would fire someone directly employed by you if they had done that?
Well, I'd want to know more about it.
I accept
absolutely,
that,
yes.
But if
that's not something anybody should be doing. But again, you always have part of the story when you ask me these questions. You don't always have the whole story.
I know directly of a couple of interns who this has happened to. And my final question on this is, if this turned out to be true, would you return campaign contributions from anyone who might have done this?
Yeah, I would be surprised if anybody in my campaign did that, much less somebody who's a contributor. But that's not the kind of behavior I want or would expect or would condone from my campaign.
Okay. All right. Well, I think you've been very clear on that, and I thank you for that. And I promise you I will get you that information because, as I say, I have no problem with the candidates disagreeing with each other on policy matters. I have a real problem when people go after them on a personal level. And I've told you that before, and you know that's how I feel about everybody. It's not just about you. I feel that about everybody.
Yeah, I understand, but sometimes people make these assertions, and the assertions aren't accurate either. So we got to make sure we have all the facts on the table.
Absolutely, and I will get you those facts. You have my word. Let me just run through these questions. I'm not going to be able to get them on the phone, so very fast answers, and then we'll let you go. David in Des Moines wants to know how you feel about defending the state of Israel.
We should stand shoulder to shoulder with the nation of Israel. They're one of our best friends in the world. There should be no daylight between the United States of America and Israel. And this president has put his thumb in the eye of Israel repeatedly and intentionally, undermined our friendship with them, undermined their security and ours, and I would never do that as president.
Jim in Des Moines says, what really can we cut right now to help the deficit and the debt?
Well, we can cut a lot of things.
I agree with you. How about we start with shrimp on treadmills?
Well, look, we can cut almost everything. I don't support cutting the defense budget. There's a lot of other priorities we should focus on and maintain. But look, you got agencies like the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency that's out of control. They should be reined in. We have programs where we are supporting the workforce development is an important thing, but the General Accounting Office just came out with a report not long ago that said we have 14 or so overlapping agencies. The money's being wasted, no focus. That could all be consolidated and streamlined as one example.
Governor Tim Pawlenty and Mary Pawlenty, thank you both so much for coming in today. I really do appreciate it. I'm sorry we're out of time. We'd love to do it again, and if we don't get to do it again, I'm going to see you at the straw poll where we'll have someone drag you over to our table.
All right, Simon. Thanks for having us in. We appreciate it.
Thanks very much. This is the Simon Conway Show here on News Radio 1040 W.